the altar stone, and Merlin's grave.
The legend of Merlin fascinates people the world over, but behind the legend is an equally intriguing true story. It is set against the 6th century clash between Christianity and traditional belief, a duel between St. Mungo, priest, and Merlin, the pagan, played out against a web of political intrigue and the strife of a land tearing itself apart. Born to a royal family, to a life of privilege and luxury, Merlin lived in a territory north of the Solway, where his cousin, Gwendolew, was high chief. Merlin was a man of learning and a shaman with powers of prophecy and second sight, but in 573 AD, when an alliance of neighbouring rulers combined to wipe Gwendolew from the face of the map, Merlin lost everything in a bloodbath of pillage and genocide. Suffering post-traumatic stress disorder from the horrors he had witnessed, he was forced to live on the run. For over a decade, he survived as an outlaw, hiding out in a cave shelter, living off what the forest could provide. After a decade as a wild man of the woods, his twin sister located him and tried to arrange his rehabilitation. But the price of securing his old age would have meant converting to Christianity and denying his traditional beliefs. It was a price he was not prepared to pay. He predicted a triple death, which came to pass when he was assassinated on the banks of the Tweed in around 584 AD. Merlin was given shelter at Tinnis Castle on the way to meet St. Mungo. It was here that Merlin discovered the chief's young wife, Lady Mildred, having an affair, an offence punishable by death. Lady Mildred became aware of Merlin's knowledge, and it was possibly her lover who was responsible for Merlin's assassination. From Tinnis Castle you can see the path of the Tweed River where Merlin's grave is. From Tinnis Castle, Merlin went to Stobo. His twin sister had arranged for him to meet with St. Mungo so that he could be accepted back into society, enabling her to be able to look after him in his old age. The original chapel would have been a small, simple timber sanctum with a thatched roof where Mungo and his fellow monks carried out their rituals in an aura of mysticism. The altar in the north transept, which is where we are now, is half of the pagan altar which was bought from the sacred grove 3 miles away and re-utilised to symbolise the greater power of Christianity. The other half still remains in situ. So this stained glass window is meant to symbolise Merlin's conversion to Christianity, but the information here says that evidence seems to indicate that both men probably agreed to disagree, and Merlin renounced the chance of further rehabilitation to stay true to his traditional beliefs. left Stobo Kirk heading back towards Tinnis Castle, with St Mungo accompanying him as far as the other half of the altar stone. That this is where Merlin and Mungo parted on the day of Merlin's assassination. This is the altar stone in its original location, which was probably a pagan sacred site within a grove of trees. The part of the stone we saw in Stobo Kirk was removed and relocated by St Mungo, probably to assimilate the pagan beliefs of the local population into the newly introduced Christianity. Mungo's parting line was, "Brother, do you still persist in your folly without having revoked your spirit of irreverence? Therefore go in peace and may the Lord be with you." He then writes that Merlin leapt away from there like a wild goat set free from the hunter's snare and joyfully made tracks for the desolate waste. Alone, Merlin continued back to Tinnis Castle, but as he crossed the river, he was ambushed. We've just found the approximate location of where Merlin's grave is, but it says there's no actual marker, so it's just 200 yards or so down through the paddock over the other side of the road. We're just wandering down the path towards Merlin's grave. Apparently it's not marked, but we'll just wander down and have a bit of an explore anyway. From the road we are, we'd say we're probably about the 200-yard mark, and the river just starts to bend away from the path. He was about to cross the bottom the river, and someone hit him on the head with a stone or a really heavy object. Interestingly enough, there's a hawthorn tree. Merlin is said to have prophesied his own triple death. After being hit on the head by his adversary, he then fell onto a stake which was holding some fishing nets in place, and then, unconscious, fell into the river and drowned. The story of Merlin is a fascinating one, and I recommend visiting merlintrail.com for more information. Thanks for watching Scotland by Jeep.